over, Jets fans! Preseason is over, Jets fans! Oh, man. We are here. We are here now, baby. We are in the exciting time, the last real waiting period that we have before the official start of the 2024 New York Jets season. Who's excited? I'm excited. Welcome to episode 166, order 166 episode of GreenBean's Jets Pod. I am happy that you are here. Welcome to all the new folks. I had a lot of new people chiming in the last 2 weeks, so welcome to all of you. If this is your first time, welcome aboard. It's nice to have you here. For all those people on the audio side, hello to you. Hello to you in your car. I see you. I'm looking right at you. I am. Watch. You can't stare at the radio. I'm not really there. Watch the cars in front of you. Traffic in the morning. It's tough. I want you to get to where you're going safely. That's what I want. But I am excited. If you've not yet, consider, especially if you're here for the first time, smashing the like button. Give me those milk thumbs. Give me the milk thumbs. And if you would be so kind, subscribe to the channel. What a wonderful thing to do. What a wonderful thing to do, everybody. And I'm grateful for all of the support. Episode 166 brings us to a very interesting time in Jets history. We'll look back at this one maybe, and we'll say, wow, what an interesting time that was. Here we are. We have the end of the preseason, like I said. The Jets played the New York Giants in the Snoopy Bowl. I don't think it's really a Snoopy Bowl anymore. Nobody's starters were playing and all that kind of thing. And so you just want to, I don't know. Is it the Snoopy Trophy? Is it still a thing? I don't know. It used to mean something. Ask Rex Ryan. He'll tell you. He'll tell you how important that damn game was. But not so much anymore. But still, we got to see a lot. But we're going into this, as we end this now, we're going into this time, this season, where we have a team that the construct just might be that we are looking at one of, if not the most talented Jets rosters that we've ever had. There's, as we go through this, and we'll do our 53-man roster prediction today. We'll also do the practice squad prediction. So we have 16 slots open on the practice squad for fellas who we want to bring back, some of whom have to clear waivers. If you remember former Jets general manager Mike Tannenbaum, who Matt O'Leary, everybody, the great Matt O'Leary, maintains is the best Jets general manager ever. And he's got a point. I mean, shit. 2 AFC championship games, numerous winning seasons, right? So, I'll tell you, if this is the best roster we've had in a while, it's probably since 2010, which I believed that year we were the best team in football. We were the best team in football. We blew it. We would have won the Super Bowl. We blew it. We blew it. So you got to give it to Mike Tannenbaum. But Mike Tannenbaum, very famously at this point, if you're young, you won't remember this, but this is where we were. So Mike Tannenbaum, we used to call him Trader Mike. And he used to trade away everything. He didn't care. He'll trade up. He'll trade around. He'll give up draft picks for players. He didn't care. He's like, if I want this guy, I'm getting this guy. And that was a cool thing about having Mike Tannenbaum. You felt at any given time, like if he was in a battle for a player, you knew if Mike Tannenbaum really wants him, he's going to get him. A great example of that was LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. The Chargers, his career with the Chargers was done. I mean, this is a running back that's won MVP of the league. Stud muffin supreme. Looked like he was losing a step, but still, the belief by many was that he still had plenty of gas in the tank. And it was really between us and the Minnesota Vikings at the time. They had a good squad, and we had a good squad coming off the 2009 season, the AFC Championship game season that we lost to the Colts. And I had every confidence in the world. So did so many Jets fans. I was on message boards at the time. I talked to thousands of Jets fans on there and in my own personal life and everything. And most felt like, yeah, LT's coming to the Jets. And he did. And he was great for us. Maybe not Chargers level great, but he was definitely solid. A very exciting player for us. So that was the thing with Mike Tannenbaum. But he, threw picks around all the time. So we went into drafts like the Mark Sanchez draft. We had 3 picks. 3 picks. It was Mark Sanchez, Sean Green, and I believe Matt Slauson. All, solid picks, but that was it. So we went through the whole draft, 3 picks, and he did that stuff all the time, 4 picks, 5 picks. So he looked at the waiver period, the cut downs, and he famously said he called it a mini draft. And why wouldn't he? He's like, that other draft, I had 3 picks, the mini draft. So he looked at this as an opportunity to bolster the roster. But there's a sad side to that, which is the fact that we would look at it like that. Like an opportunity to grab players that are better than the players we have. Not a good look. Not a good look at all. So these days, what we're looking at, and you'll see in my 53-man roster prediction, is that I have a hard time wanting to get rid of most of these guys. I mean, very back end of like the safeties, maybe. I mean, the 4 safeties are kind of locked in. But so there's no real issue with like, okay, well, these are the 4 guys. But I'll tell you what, defensive line, even offensive line depth, it's difficult. Wide receiver is difficult. Whether we're going to keep, the tight ends, and there's difficult decisions all over the place, particularly on the defensive line. I mean, the guys we're about to cut just a handful of years ago would be second string or starters. No questions asked. So we're here now looking at the final spot or 2. And we got numerous guys that we want to see make it. So it's an exciting year. This roster, for all of the warts that the Jets have, Joe Douglas and his organization have, with free agency and all that stuff, the roster is really something to behold. So we'll take a look at that and get into the practice squad, who I think can make it. Now, especially where the practice squad is concerned, and the bottom end of the roster, that's where you see some shuffling at the end of the during the waiver period, at the end of the cut downs, because the guy you're keeping, maybe there's a guy that did get cut that you had your eyes on in the draft, and they're hoping that he slides through. You can't believe he got cut, and you do some of that. But really what we're going to see is a continuation of the trend that we've seen the last 2 years, which is the Jets are among the top teams to be poached. So the players that we're releasing, hoping that they slide through waivers and make it to our practice squad, you're going to see a lot of those guys, those names get taken. So that's why it's so dangerous, and you have to take this very, very seriously from the Jets' perspective, because it's not like the days of old. You go, oh yeah, well, he's developmental. He's clearly very talented. We'll stash him. You saw it with Jason Pinnock. We thought we were going to stash him on the practice squad. Nope. Giants said absolutely not. He's been their starting free safety. So it's one of those types of scenarios, man. You got to be careful. So let's start, though. A little bit of exciting stuff happened in the final preseason game. The final score wouldn't allude to such, but it was. We saw an incredible display by our reserve defensive line. We saw an incredible display by our reserve linebacker, draft pick from just 2 years ago, Zaire Barnes. Really made a case for himself. And the fact that Joe Douglas used a mid-round pick on him just a year ago, that's in his favor as well. But, they got to play. If they're going out there laying eggs all day, you just can't justify it. So Zaire Barnes, 7 tackles, really made a case for himself. I believe he had 7 tackles. Well, it's on the box score. It says 6, but I'm telling you it's 7. I know it is. And a half sack. So really just a very potent display from him. But let's talk about the sacks. So the Jets had 7 sacks last night. It started with Tack McKinley, which we're going to call this batch of sacks the Tack Sack Attack Pack. What do you think? Huh? The Tack Sack Attack Pack. I like it. So I think watching our defensive line. Now, the first thing that people say is, they're going against a bunch of people that won't be on NFL rosters in a couple of days. Okay. but so are they. I mean, these are two of the guys I'm going to mention are undrafted free agents in Braden McGregor and LT3. So you look at these guys. These are guys that just a few months ago, every NFL team, 32 NFL teams passed on these guys numerous times, 7 times, 9 times, 5 times, whatever it might be per team. They decided that there were other players that they'd rather have than these guys. So they made it all the way through to the undrafted free agent class. And 2 of them are playing in the final preseason game against their peers, the other guys that made it through the draft or were 7th round picks or what have you. And Allen Robinson, interestingly enough, he was out there in the third quarter of or late second quarter of the final preseason game. Interesting. So you want those guys among that crop in that talent pool. You want them to dominate. And that shows that they belong on the team, right? So practice squad is not a terrible thing, but when you look at a guy like, let's just use Braden McGregor, for example, he gets credited with 2 sacks last night. Or I'll say you're watching this on Monday or later. So I'll say Saturday night. For me, it's last night. He's credited with 2 sacks. I think he should have got the 3rd sack credited to him. I think it went to LT3, which is fine. But you look at this guy, and he's got to make a case for himself. He's got to come out. He's got to show I belong. Yes, I slipped through the draft, which I wasn't expecting to happen, but I'm a ball player, man. I can play. And he goes out there and he shows the crop that he's in that you can't stop me. I don't belong here. This is not where I belong, and I'm making a case to show the team otherwise. He's a guy that I fear. If you try to get him to the practice squad, when 32 teams look at him, they're not going to have 4 defensive ends that are better than Braden McGregor. I just don't think that's the case, so I think he will get poached. I think the same thing applies with Lawrence Taylor. I got to stop that. Leonard Taylor III. So he's credited with 1.5 sacks. Great penetration, great, just technique. He looks sound, the motor, the strength, it's all there. How do you cut a guy like that and expose him to 32 teams? Not everybody has the depth that the Jets have. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm of the thought that you just can't do it. You learn your lesson from Jason Pinnock. You learn. You see it happen, you go, damn, that's disappointing. Now, you can't keep everybody, but the good news is not everybody's worth keeping. But there are a few guys that are worth moving some things around and maybe being a little bit slight over here because you just can't cut them. You wait till the feeding frenzy subsides, and then if you need to make some moves, you can do that. But I don't know, man. On cut down day, I don't think you can do it. And the great news, you can kind of make some handshake agreements with maybe some vets that don't have to get exposed to waivers, and you can keep the young guy and say, look, we don't want to lose him, but we're going to bring you right back in 2 weeks, whatever that might be. And you'll see how I think they should do it in the 53-man roster prediction. But so Adrian Martinez got the start. Didn't look as good as I'd hoped, but sound game. He got kind of betrayed by the refs, quite frankly. I mean, that was, I don't know. The Brownlee non-pass interference call in the end zone, I don't know if I've ever seen pass interference like that. Maybe that Saints-Rams thing. Remember that? That was ridiculous. But the guy was, Holmes was his name. He's holding his arm with one hand, and he's pulling on his collar with the other, and he's not even trying to turn his head, and he tackles him as the ball hits. It's like, and we're good. So that could have very easily been a touchdown, or if not, pass interference gets you right down there, and he's responsible for another touchdown drive. I mean, I don't know the hypothetical results guaranteed or not, but it looks like it. It could have helped the cause. But anyway, he looked okay, and I think that he looks more exciting. He did a fantastic 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. So I just think he looks like there's more meat on the bone with Martinez than Peasley. So if we're going to bring a quarterback back, I don't know. I think he made a case for himself. in that one. But the star of the game, not named Tack McKinley, by the way. Tack McKinley was a man amongst boys out there and said, dude, I'm a first-round pick. I'm hanging out here with undrafted free agents and late rounders and all that. I'm just going to beat the living hell out of everybody. And he did just that. And I think, again, makes it tough, makes it real tough, the decision if you're thinking about moving on from him. He made a case, and he will definitely find a team, in my opinion. If you don't want him, somebody's going to want him. Now, they can't claim him on waivers, but he's going to find a job. So the big star, not named Tack McKinley, had to be Izzy. Israel Abanikanda. Look, we didn't start Brees as per usual, but this is the first preseason game we didn't see Braylon Allen or Isaiah Davis, and it was the Izzy show, And let me tell you, he didn't just break a lucky one, which, he broke one for the lone touchdown in the game. But even on the hard yards, he was getting yards after contact on almost every single run. The guy was running with conviction. He was confident. His balance was perfect. He was bouncing off dudes on the touchdown. He broke a couple tackles en route to the end zone. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. It makes it difficult when you look at, in the second half, Valladay, who had a couple opportunities himself to break away. He doesn't have the wheels to do it. Damn well. We were talking about it in the live stream, Frankie and Jeremy and myself. If that was Izzy, he's gone. There's no doubt. He's got that extra gear that nobody really on the team possesses other than him. So I don't know. I think he made the case. I thought up until this point that he was probably a long shot. He still may be. But he made the case, and I think the Jets probably are going to want to keep him around. So I don't know. I like it. I like the idea. But with that all said, not the best game, not the cleanest game, but a lot of guys showed out. And I think our defensive line, the depth on our defensive line just showed you how deep we really are. And that's something to behold, quite frankly. So, not that it's a gripe, but let's do it. Let's get into the 53-man roster prediction, my official one, before cutdown day and practice squad in the Intelligent Gripe. So, okay, here we go. Now, I want to thank our good buddy Ryan. If you watch Jets Talk 24/7, you're going to recognize this format. You're going to recognize a lot of the list because we're very close. There are some places where we deviate, which I'll explain. But thank you, Ryan, I saw Ryan said, hey, here's my 53. And I was like, ooh, send me that format. Mine doesn't look half as good as that, man. So Ryan, significantly more advanced in the technological realm than one little old green bean. So thank you, Ryan. But here we are. We got our final 53 up here. You can see that on the top left. This is New York Jets. The color codes are as follows. If you see them highlighted in green, that'll be a starter. The white is a backup. And if you see him in red, that is somebody that I believe will be on injured reserve this year. Now, let's start with the offense. So we got two quarterbacks that they're going to suit up for the games. That is one, Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor, both of whom are significantly better than the quarterbacks we've trotted out in a very, very long time, right? Don't think there's any debate, questions, arguments there. Running backs is where it gets interesting. As you can see, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Israel Abanikanda. So I think that he's going to make the roster. I think that he made the case for himself and that he's earned it. That's what I think. So we're going to keep 4 running backs. Izzy makes the team. Wide receivers. All right, the wide receivers look like this. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Allen Lazard up top, followed by the Gipper, Yak King, and it can go one of 3 ways here, right? Irv Charles makes it on special teams prowess. He was very, very good last year, but has not done a damn thing in preseason, training camp. He's not really showing that offensive ability in a pinch. And I think that's important, especially with the new kickoff rules and all that. So I think Malachi Corley, Gibson make it. And I'm going to look, Brownlee can easily be the nod as well, but I don't think he did enough. I think that when the Jets look at this is what I would do. I could very easily see this one going another way. Brandon Smith just did everything asked of him this year, whether it was downfield, whether it was contested, whether it was underneath. All he does is catch the ball. He had another catch for 39 yards in the Giants game. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, to me, especially last wide receiver on the list here, I think makes perfect sense. Have a guy that so far has just caught everything that you needed him to and done everything asked, all parts of the field. He seems to be able to get there and get open, or if they're contested, he seems to come down with it. So I like Brandon Smith, and that would be my choice. Prediction, I think the Jets are going to have some balls and do it. That's my prediction, but I could very easily see it going the other way. Tight ends, we're going to keep 3. Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Rucker, Kenny Yeboah. Kenny Yeboah had 1 catch for 3 yards and a first down and got banged up. And everybody's saying, oh, Yeboah. Well, I'm going to tell you, Robert Saleh said the same thing with Xavier Newman. He said that, look, it's precautionary. Like, they had a little thing. We said, get out of here. Safety is paramount. And we saw it. We saw some Giants get banged up. Guy got carted off. I mean, not good. And that's what you want to avoid. So Yeboah is fine. I think he makes the squad. Tackles, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, Olu Fashanu, and then they'll be backed up by recent draft picks, Carter Warren and Max Mitchell. The guard, this is an interesting one because I see Elijah Vera-Tucker and John Simpson being the starters. I know I'm going on a limb there, but those guys I think are going to be the starters. And then you got Xavier Newman, I think has the inside track to be the backup. But if he's injured, which he may be, banged up in any capacity, I think next man up will be Cole Laveo. Now, they're only keeping 3. That's my thought, because we're going to have a center backup as well, and Wes Schweitzer can play guard. So I think there's a little bit of give there. But I think Cole Laveo, if it's not Xavier Newman, it'll be Cole Laveo. That's what I think. So, and I think it's a good choice. That's the right choice. If not, Cole Laveo, you'll see in a little bit, does make it to the practice squad, or at least he's on my list. Center, Joe Tippmann, backed up by my absolute favorite player on the whole team, Mr. Wes Schweitzer. Oh, I love him. I love when offensive linemen are on their back more than one time in one game. That's my personal fave. So I think it makes perfect sense to keep Wes Schweitzer as the primary backup in the center position. Does offer versatility, and hey, he's having a good camp. Second year with Keith Carter, who knows, right? Let's switch over to the defense. Well, I'll just say, so that's 25 offensive players, okay? So now we got defense. We'll start with the defensive line over here. Hassan Reddick is on the list, okay? I have an X next to his name, and I'll talk about that in a second. So you got Hassan Reddick. If he's here, he's starting. Jermaine Johnson opposite of him. And then you got Michael Clemens, Will McDonald. I think Tack McKinley and Braden McGregor make the team, even if Hassan Reddick is there. If Hassan Reddick does not show up, if he wants to do something, Tigo and I were talking about it earlier, the thought is he's going to want to see us lose against the Niners, maybe be unable to gain, to really create any pressure, or so he wants his value to go up and the Jets to get panicky and sign him. I think it's going to go exactly the opposite, because Tack McKinley, Will McDonald, and Michael Clemens are going to fill in fine. I think if we do not, I think if Reddick does not report, will not be on the 53, he'll be a did not report, and you can use that roster spot for Eric Watts, who I think is the next guy up, and looked pretty good himself. Nice developmental prospect there, and he'll gain the spot. So if Reddick's there, no Watts. If Reddick's not there, Watts. Either way, I think the line is stout. Obviously better with Reddick, but I think Tack and Braden McGregor are going to make it, which excites the living hell out of me. Now, moving on to the interior, you got Q, you got Kinlaw, who I'm very excited about seeing together. That combination, I think, is gonna bring on the pain, and I'm excited about it. Leaky Fotu, I know it's Lecky. I like saying Leaky. Leaky Fotu, Solly, and LT3 makes the bunch. So I'm happy about that. Now, this is what I will say. In the event they don't want to keep 11 defensive linemen, which I think they're going to, Braden McGregor is the odd man out. I think LT3's value is increased even if they were on even par. The positional value increases because our depth on the interior is a touch slighter than the depth on the outsides, especially when if Hassan Reddick's coming around. So if they're only going to keep 10, I think sadly Braden McGregor is the odd man out. They'll try to get him to the practice squad. I think it's a risky endeavor. But so there you have it. We have 11 total defensive linemen, 6 for the edge, 5 for the interior. Moving over to linebackers, the Jets are going to keep 4. This is one of those areas where you got to kind of trim a little bit. Maybe Chaz Surratt, but I don't know. Barnes is the guy. So CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Jamie Sherwood, and the 4th will be Barnes. That's what I think is going to happen. And it's what I would do too. Chaz Surratt, as much as I genuinely like him, I liked him as a prospect. I like when the Jets picked him up. I liked his development. I think he has a lot of talent. I like the player. But man, he didn't look all that great. He had one really nice play. But he's been spotty, and his injuries and all that. It's just, I don't know. Barnes looks better. He looks like he's on a more steep upward trajectory than Chaz Surratt. So 4 linebackers. Cornerbacks, Saucy, DJ Reed, Quantez Stiggers, and Jarek Bernard Converse. Now, Converse is interesting because if he's injured, then we'll have to look in another direction. Maybe you see a guy like Codrington, somebody like that. I think he's going to be fine. That's the 4 cornerbacks I see going in. Now, on the slot side, you got Michael Carter II backed up by Brandon Eccles. We already know Brandon Eccles can give you versatility on the outside as well. So I think he's a fantastic option to keep on the roster, right? And you know the Jets like him. So strong safety, Chuck Clark, Isaiah Oliver, Tony Adams, and Ashton Davis at the free safety position. No real questions there. I think that's our guys. So you see here I have Jordan Travis as the guy on injured reserve. Very smart because he's not going to play anyway. So just put him on injured reserve. Shelve him, as we say. And then you have our 3 specialists. Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg at kicker. One of the best punters in the entire NFL, Thomas Morstead. And then you got one of the best long snappers in the NFL, Thomas Hennessy, the longest tenured Jet. So there you go. There's my 53. What do you think? 25 offense, 25 defense, 3 specialists, and 1 fella on IR. Really the only kind of iffies there. You got Izzy, you got Brandon Smith, Cole Laveo, Xavier Newman. That's an iffy one. And then you got the defensive line. You know, is McGregor and Tack going to make it on the edge? Is LT3 going to make it on the inside? I mean, look, Tanzel Smart is still an option. Got himself a sack last night as well. So he's making a case to be the guy, and they know him. He's been here for years. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. But again, I've said this many times. I think LT3 offers you significantly more upside than Tanzel Smart. Like Tanzel Smart plenty. Years ago, he'd be a guy that would be a mainstay on the roster. I don't see it. So there you go. Now, let's move over to the practice squad piece here. This will be a little bit different, a little bit more difficult to do, quite frankly. And again, you never know. Some of these guys, they might prefer some fellas that get cut from other teams, so you'll see some movement around here. But here's what I got. Let's start with the defense. I think Tanzel Smart, they're going to ask him to come back to the practice squad. Whether or not he comes remains to be seen. We haven't seen too much of a market for Tanzel Smart. He's been out there before, so who knows. Eric Watts, again, if he's not on the roster. Now, this is why the X's are here on this one. If Eric Watts makes it because Hassan Reddick is a did not report, I see Bruce Hector making the practice squad. If Eric Watts is not on the 53 because Hassan Reddick did report. I think he's going to be the guy on the practice squads. Remember, we can keep 16 guys. So I have linebacker Chaz Surratt, cornerbacks Brandon Codrington and Trey Swilling. Trey Swilling was the guy who forced the fumble on the big kick return from the Giants in the game. Jalen Key at safety, he's Mr. Irrelevant. So, I'd love to say that he's going to make the 53. I don't know. I don't see it. I think that we need the spots elsewhere, and Jalen Key hasn't really entrenched himself. So I think he needs a little bit more simmering on the back burner. So he'll go to the practice squad, and free safety will retain Jarius Monroe, who I'm really kind of impartial on, but for now, that's what I see. Now let's move over to the offensive side of the ball here. You got quarterback Adrian Martinez. I think that's the guy over Peasley. Valladay was on the practice squad last year, making himself a couple $100,000 a year. Why not do that again, Valladay? Keep him on the roster. on the team, but on the practice squad. Wide receivers, Irv Charles, Jason Brownlee. Look, if it's Irv Charles on the 53, Brandon Smith, they're going to want to bring him back. Same thing goes for Jason Brownlee. But right now I see these guys, both undrafted free agents as well, if you remember correctly. Obviously with NFL experience, Charles going into his third year, Brownlee going into his second. I think, hey man, it is what it is. Brandon Smith outplayed you in the preseason. Tight end, I'd like to see them keep Anthony Ferkser. He's a vet. You don't have to worry about him clearing waivers or anything like that. You just tell him, hey, buddy, go on over to the practice squad. We'll keep you on the team, and we'll find playing time for you. We'll be bringing you up a few times, no doubt. The Zach Kuntz experiment, I think, should be over. The guy is he's a waste of space, in my opinion. Hey, perfect 10 RAS score does not mean football player. Had a drop last night. Maybe not the easiest catch in the world, but it was there, and he should have had it because that was a clear touchdown. Drops it. And he's just, every week, there's something with him. And I don't think he's got too much real claim. So I think Anthony Ferkser, in the event somebody goes down, I'd rather see Ferkser brought up than Kuntz, and that's as simple as it is. Offensive line, Hanson, Brady Latham, one of my personal favorite developmental projects, Austin Deculus, and Obina Easy. 2 tackles, 2 interiors. I think it's wise to, use those practice squad spots for more than just 1 or 2 offensive linemen. I just don't think it's even to be questioned. So 4 offensive linemen will be taken. That gives us 16. Again, it's 17 on my list because of the Watts Hector thing, Reddick situation, but that'll play itself out. So that's my practice squad prediction. Now I'm going to say this about these guys. If 5 years ago, during the Adam Gase years or the end of the Todd Bowles era, if you gave me half of this practice squad on one of those teams, I think we would have been better. And that's where we are right now. This team, in my opinion, without the health concerns and all that, like Tyron Smith and AVT and such, is the best roster that we've had since 2010. And you could have a debate. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll have a video soon and see how we feel about this roster head-to-head positionally against the 2010 roster. But man, oh man, am I excited about this season. I think my 53 is going to be pretty close to dead on. There's not too much question, to be honest with you. I don't think this one's all that hard. In years past, it was like, you didn't know. You didn't know who was going to be making the team outside of maybe the frontliners. But this one, I think there's just some back-end positions that are in question. There may be a few surprises. I don't think the Michael Clemens thing happens. I think he's on the roster. I wouldn't be blown away if they decided to go otherwise, another direction, so to speak. But I don't think I think he's got Ulbricht's confidence. Again, team player, gained a bunch of weight last year, lost a bunch of weight this year per the team's request, hasn't used it as an excuse, hasn't said anything about it, just did it because they asked. And I think that has value as well. So let me know what you think, everybody. Do you disagree? Do you think Aaron Rodgers just should not be the starting quarterback? This should be Tyrod Taylor's team. Let me know. Breece Hall, the guy sucks. Validate. Who knows what you think? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you hanging out with me. This was fun. Don't forget about the New York Jets game against the Denver Broncos, everybody. The Talkin' Jets ticket buy is for that game. We're hanging out with Tailgate Joe. We have on-field access, 35, 40-yard line upper level tickets, perfect seats. My favorite seats in the whole place, by the way, is that 30 to 30 upper level seats. You can see everything. I love it. We had a great time there last year. If you want to come, we only have single-digit tickets left. We had 100, I believe, maybe 90 or 100. Sold them all. It's going to be an amazing party. We only have a single digits left. I think there's 8 or 9 left. So if you want to come, please do. You can go to talkingjets.com and find those tickets. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me. And as always, go Jets.